Did you know that we can see over 1 million colors in the world around us? 1 million. How can we humble artists possibly know which of these million colors we should use in our paintings? The thing is, artists centuries before us faced the same dilemma. But through trial and error, they figured out the secrets behind color and have literally given us the answers through their paintings. All we have to do is know how to find it. This is where beginners can get stuck. They know they should study master artwork, but don't know where to begin. So they hope to learn at least something by copying the painting one-to-one. Doing a one-to-one study isn't wrong, but if you don't understand what you're trying to learn, you'll waste a lot of precious time and not get as much out of the study as you could have. Instead of doing a one-to-one study, I'm going to show you 2 quick ways I use to study from master art, where you primarily focus on colors and colors alone. We won't be doing any drawing, and we won't be trying to study the shapes, edges, composition, perspective, nothing like that. Just color. You may not come out with an absolutely gorgeous study to post on social media, but I guarantee that you will save a lot of time and you will learn a lot from it. Hi, my name is Shami and I've been making digital art for the past 4 years, and I absolutely love color and light design in visual storytelling. Welcome to my channel, and let's dive in. Today we're going to do a color study of this amazing portrait by Nathan Fowkes, where we focus on color and light interactions for a single object. And then in part 2, we will learn to simplify color in this incredibly complex and detailed Studio Ghibli background. Remember, we're going to focus only on color and basic lighting, so you don't need any drawing skill. Let's start. Let's begin by analyzing what's happening in this painting. At all times, we're asking ourselves, why that color? When we understand why an artist chose that color, it becomes much easier to apply the same kind of thinking in our own work. For this study, we are looking at the reasoning behind only 3 things: the color of the object, the color of the object when light hits it, and the color of the object in shadow. That's it. The inherent color of an object is its local color. For example, this ball is red and this ball is blue. But we don't see objects with flat colors like this. We see them after some kind of light hits it. Like this. Let's go through what exactly is happening by using this color wheel. Here we have a bright, warm light shining on the red ball. When light hits an object, it's going to bring the local color closer to the color of light. The amount of pull that the light has on the local color will depend on its intensity. The brighter the light, the stronger the pull, and the weaker the light, the weaker the pull. And as the light transitions into shadow, we get a halftone, which is still in light but has more influence of the local color since less direct light is hitting it. Now, let's look at the local color in shadow. We have 2 different colors here. What's happening? In the absence of light, the local color becomes darker and in most cases saturated or more intense, and this gives us a shadow color. But light can hit a surface and bounce up into the shadows. I said earlier that the amount of pull the light has on local color depends on its intensity. When even a strong light hits a surface, it loses some of its energy in the bounce and becomes weaker. So its effect on the shadow color is much less when compared to direct light. But wait, this swatch doesn't match the color over here. Why not? When light loses energy from bouncing, it also becomes warmer and the color shifts towards the reds. So we need to know 2 things for bounce light. It is a weak light source and so only slightly brightens the shadow color, and it becomes warmer after bouncing and makes the shadow color shift towards the reds. Next, we need to look at this bright spot, which is the highlight, and this dark area, the ambient occlusion. The highlight is a reflection of the light source. The color of your light source is the color of your highlight. For example, if I were to make this a cool light instead, then my highlight will be a cool blue color. Now for the ambient occlusion. The ambient occlusion is the dark space, where almost 0 light reaches. It happens in those cracks and crevices where light couldn't possibly bounce into, and it tends to be a really dark and warm color. Now, since we have understood these 3 things, we can confidently move on to our study and apply the same principles of light and color. We are going to study this beautiful and amazing portrait by turning it into a ball. This ball to be exact. This is why I said no drawing is required. Absolutely anyone can make a circle. We're going to condense the complicated structure of the human face into a sphere. All of these areas that are hit by light will equal one section on the sphere. Because even though it looks complicated, if we look closely, all these areas are actually a similar color. So we can condense all of this into one area on the ball. Using that same logic, all of the planes in shadow will equal this area in shadow on the ball. And we explain the reasoning behind the colors as we go along. We will also look at the additional accent colors and add those in as we go. You can use the same logic for any painting that has a single object, and you can even use it to study textures. So now, let's begin. I want to first paint a simple background based on the colors I see here. And then what I think the local color is, which is a very saturated orange. Now, if the highlight is a reflection of the light source, then I can figure out the intensity and the color of the light directly from the highlight. The highlight looks to be this bright, warm color. Now I'm going to take my local color and the color of the light and shift the local color towards the light in order to get the final color. I'm going to first block in the area I want to be in light and then work in the final color. As I paint it in, I'm trying to add subtle color variations and not make it one flat color like this. For color variations, you can take whatever color you have on the color picker and just pick nearby colors. And now we have finished our light section and included our halftone. Now, if you want to see a full time lapse of this study, showing my entire screen with my color picker, brushes and layers, and an in-depth voiceover explanation, check in the description below to learn how to access it for free. Okay, now let's work on the shadow by taking the local color and making it darker and more saturated. We will slowly paint it in using the method we used to paint in the light, adding subtle color variations along the way. Now it's starting to look like a ball. We have a clear light portion and a clear shadow portion. But the study is looking a little bit dead. This is because we don't have subsurface scattering. What the heck is subsurface scattering, you might ask? Well, if we zoom in here, between the transition from light to shadow, the color turns really warm and saturated. Light is entering the skin and bouncing around and picking up the red color of our blood before it exits. This color transition really gives a warm glow to the skin and brings it to life. If you want to read more on subsurface scattering, check out my blog article on my website, shammydraws.com, where I explain it in more detail using real-life images. So now I'm going to add those warm tones at the transition between light and shadow, and it's looking much more alive now. Now we can move on to the bounce light. But wait, you might be asking, how can we have bounce light if we don't have a surface for light to bounce on? And you're right. Let's add a surface first, and I'm going to pull the colors from the clothes he has on. I'm imagining his shirt is of this local color, and with the influence of that bright light, we're going to shift it to this bright warm. We can also shift the local color to a darker and more saturated color to get our shadow color. I'm going to paint it in like it's a tablecloth. And now that we have a surface, we can do our bounce light. Let's start with the shadow color. Remember I said earlier that bounce light is a weak light source, so it will only brighten the shadows a little, and we get this lighter color. But when light loses energy in the bounce, it will shift towards the warms and gets redder, and here we get the final color. Let's paint it in and bring some more life into our study. I also want to include this cool color from the hair onto the ball, so I'm going to pretend there's a cool light source coming in this way and add those cool tones on top. Now that I look closer, it seems like our ball is floating in space. To fix that, let's ground it by adding ambient occlusion. Remember, the ambient occlusion happens in places where light can't reach, like here in the ear and in the fold of skin right here. We can use this warm dark color and paint it in the area between the ball and the table. Now it feels like the ball is sitting on the surface of the table. Next is the juicy highlight, which is the easiest part. Now we're going to add in this blue from the scarf, but we're going to do it in the form of a ball, using the same logic we've been using, with a local color, color and light, color in shadow, and so on. I wanted to make sure to add this blue color from the original, since blue and orange are complementary colors. Our color study is largely orange, so the blue accent helps make it more vibrant and interesting. Now I'm just adding some final touches, adding some more colors here and there, playing with the edges, and just having fun with it. The key takeaway here is not to copy a master artwork just for copying's sake, but to analyze what's going on so you can understand why the colors move the way they do. You don't need to do it step by step like I did, where you do the light part first, and then the shadow part, and then the bounce light, and so on. You can switch between different areas, which is something I normally do, because it's much easier and way more fun. In this video, I kept each section separated so it would be easier to explain, but you should be free to paint the study in whatever way you want to, as long as you understand the reasoning behind the color you're painting. Alright, last tip. When doing your study from master artwork, do not color pick, but you can use the color picker to check the accuracy of your colors. Don't worry about getting it perfect, it's all about trial and error. Getting it close enough is just fine. Work out the color like how I showed in the video, and you will benefit immensely from having to figure out the color yourself. And that brings our simple color study to a finish. Now in the next video, we're going to study a Studio Ghibli painting using a completely different method. So if you like this video, be sure to check it out here. Thanks for watching, and happy creating!